So today, while walking and thinking about life as always, I thought of an interesting new philosophical framework, an idea like what if society isn't your friend? It isn't your community. What if it is kind of like a cognito-hazardous parasite, an idea that just by existing in your head can make your life worse, can hijack your systems for its own replication. And I thought, why not make a video on it, with the thesis being society as a memetic parasite. So, what is a memetic parasite? Well, a meme in this context is an idea that can travel on its own using our brains and the systems that we ourselves use to transmit different ideas, because unlike a biological organism or some material structure, when you transmit an idea, even though it changes, it doesn't stop existing at the place that it was taken from. And that means ideas can replicate and um, like uh, be transmitted widely and much faster than any other type of thing, of organism, of life. So what if it is not just an idea but a parasite that uses your body, your brain, and has been doing that for people, 100 billion people probably, for the last 10,000 years, maybe more. I don't know if that would apply to all other non-human animals with enough capability to create social structures like elephants or whales or dolphins, but I think it's the most prevalent in humans, maybe some of the apes too. So, what is the idea built upon? The core claim of it is that society is not just a collection of people, that it is a self-replicating structure of cognition that competes with the biological interests of the hosts, because it behaves analogously to a mental parasite by redirecting human motivation towards its own continuation. So the first premise of that would be that biology has an objective function in itself, that organisms are evolved to survive and reproduce, and pleasure, pain, fear, things like that, attachment, dopamine, they all originally evolved to support the biological functions of humans, of other animals. Um, the biological purpose of human life, which is pretty evident, but it is to reproduce and maybe to ensure that our offspring reaches independence. For other animals, it is not as crucial a step as for humans, because when humans are born, we are interestingly and unlike other animals, I think the most unlike other animals, we are weak. We have giant brains, and when we are a baby, we cannot support our life for a very long time. That's why humans need to be around their biological parents and mothers for a much longer time. That's why, like, a horse can walk hours after it's born, but a human learns to crawl at like 6 months sometimes earlier, sometimes later. And after we continue the insurance of our offspring reaching independence, which will be around puberty, so 14, maybe 15 years, when you have ensured that they are independent, they can procreate on their own. Once that function is complete, continued striving for life is not biologically necessary. We have a fear of dying, but I would say that the fear is not just something biological, but it's a fear that society has shaped a lot. So, like, society hijacks biological mechanisms. Dopamine becomes associated not just with happiness and goals, it has its purpose and the way which with which it's acquired changed and becomes associated with status, career, prestige, patriotism, success, and other socially constructed goals. Fear becomes a fear of social exclusion and failure, lack of meaning, of disappointing other people in the society. And individuals, they pursue goals that often have little or no relationship to reproduction of their own direct biological interests or their own direct biological interests. The delay of reproduction from puberty to like late 20s or 30s, which we see more and more as time goes on in the West and more Western associated countries, which we would call progressive, which we would see as something society strives towards. It's um, you, it's very crucial to the idea of society going more global and implying itself into our lives. Social utility takes over because we first want to get education, career, like before we can bring offspring into the world, which is not done in any other biological organism. So, at the expense of biological timing, we try to make it so that our baby, our infant, has a better world to live in as we think, but I don't think that's true, and I'll talk about why. So, society also invents things like meaning of life, like legacy, like progress, service to humanity, nations, civilizations, historical greatness. Those things are not biological. No wolf ever strived for historical greatness. The pursuit of a meaningful life, in my view, under this philosophical framework, is something that leads you nowhere. Because, as everyone knows, I think everyone was striving to find meaning in their life, and some of you may have already found it, some of you may not. I think the reason why there is a consensus that there is no concrete objective meaning in life if we exclude religious thinking is because no one can say you how to have meaning in your own life, and people look at it as a plus, as something good, that you can create your own meaning. But I don't think that is true and that holds. And I'll talk about why that is after I give the whole argument. So, all of this meaning, legacy, progress, they're not biological needs, but they're societal constructs, and biology does not require them. So then Society rewards behavior that benefits the society sometimes more than the host of the parasite I call society. That be self-sacrifice, that be productivity beyond your essential biological needs, like working till you're old and things like that, which don't really bring you more pleasure in life, or if they do, it's more like societal pleasure. So, society values long life. This is a crucial point. Why doesn't biology value long life? Because if a biological organism ages, it becomes easier to sustain injuries that heal worse. It becomes easier to catch diseases. Your immune system worsens, and your satisfaction from life, it exponentially decreases as you age. Biologically, that is. Society benefits from old people. Why? Because your grandma, who is 80, 70, 90, she has lived in a society her whole life. She thinks that society is valuable. She perpetuates the norms and institutions of the society that could be shaming you into getting a job, uh, you know, doing art, not really shaming, but like instructing you. And when you try to live your life freely, it often clashes with the older generation's idea of a good life. I think that is some evidence that biology does not require a long life outside of reproduction, after reproduction, after ensuring that your offspring can reproduce, but society does because it benefits society a lot. Um, it ex- no, what does it do? It punishes individuals who go against the society and reject social norms. As all of you know, if you do not abide by the laws of the society, that sh- isn't just laws of any single government, that are that is the laws of just plain society, like do not kill, do not steal. uh, these laws, these norms are important in our lives because we have been brought up with thousands of years of history telling us that these are our own values, which are objective, we should strive towards. I don't think that is true. I think what is objectively valuable is our subjective biological experience. So, our own pleasure is an objectively valuable thing because it might not be that everyone should strive for your pleasure, but everyone should strive for their own pleasure. And pleasure that is brought to us by biological mechanisms, like when you escape a predator, you get serotonin or dopamine or something like that. I don't really remember. When you reproduce, when you find a partner, you get satisfaction hormones like oxytocin. When you complete a task, you get dopamine. That is the evolution's and our biology's way of introducing pleasure into our lives when we live them as biology intended. So, whenever someone rejects the social norms, we view them as crazy, as deserving of punishment, of death, because it seems like they infringe upon our freedoms, though a lot of times they actually do not. Like laws that limit free speech, they are not biologically defending us from anything. It's a purely societal thing that is only there to um, not make us feel as bad when we hear another opinion or things like that. Not. It also serves to protect cultures, but society has culture, religion, and monetary systems like economic systems like capitalism or communism, authoritarian government forms or libertarian government forms. They are all a part of society's mechanisms, I think. Um, Also, the taboo against the attraction to 20-year-olds, 19-year-olds, which have already long before reached puberty, like 5 years, 4 years, from older generations, tells us it's anti-biological. Studies have been done to show that both men and women prefer younger partners in absence of other societal factors, because a younger partner is generally more biologically fit to produce healthy offspring. Society outside of age of consent um, debates, which I will not include in these discussions or theories because I feel like it introduces a very big area of risk in this discussion, which can have dramatic effects on its recognition. So I'm not talking about uh, prepubescent, not prepubescent even, illegal, unconsented non-adults. So nothing below 18, 16, 17, 19, 20, whatever the age of consent is. Taboo goes towards 20-year-olds too. Why are, when like you're a 40-year-old woman, why wouldn't you be with a 20-year-old man biologically? That man is more fit to be a parent. Maybe not societally, as I say, because he hasn't got any money, he hasn't got a career, but those are societal things. And a 30-year-old man is much stronger than a 50-year-old man, yet we would not find two 50-year-olds dating weird, but we would find a 50-year-old dating a 30-year-old weird. There can be a discussion about the variety of people's what is it called, agency in such relationships. But even though I think it's an open question, I think it shows something that is anti-biological in the societal structure. So the result of having the memetic parasite society in your life and brain is chronic suffering. Like people are chasing decades, uh, for decades people are chasing meaning that is told to them to be the goal of life, the thing you should strive towards, the thing you should find. You should climb the Everest, you should go to space, you should do art, you should. I don't think um, meaning is something you can find. I think meaning is an illusion that society uses as like a false sun. You know, when bugs are flying towards a light, they think it's the moon. We think meaning of life is the goal, and society tells us, why strive for having children? You will die, everything will wash away. Go for something like legacy, go for having a monument to yourself in art, in knowledge, in progress, something people will remember after you die. Go for that. Forget your pure biological function. Who needs children when you can, you know, have changed billions of people's lives, you know? You can open a new element. You can create a way for us to gather energy from stars. I don't know, things like that. I think the meaning of life is not what we should strive for. I think that biology was pretty clear in what the meaning of a life should be, and it's reproduction and a life that leads to it, the spreading of your genes. People compare this themselves to social ideas rather than rather than strive for biological success, because there is still truth in that a healthy family is something we should strive for, but it's less and less that, and it's more and more you should be a millionaire, you should write a book, you should be a great artist, you should be a musician, you should engage in things that bring um, pleasure to you, and you should tell uh, other people to do the same. Then anxiety, guilt, shame, and existential crisis arise from failing societal standards. They do not arise as much from failing the biological ones. You look at yourself through the lens of the society, and you may call yourself weak, not like the others, because you haven't achieved what they did. And society makes it easy to forget that if from a million people, 10 people become famous, the rest 999,990 people will probably see those 10 people because they're famous and think they could do it. 10 people could do it. I'm one person. Why can't I? It introduces guilt because you think, well, that's because I don't work hard enough. It introduces shame because after guilt you think, what can I do? You know, I spend my life doing things that bring me pleasure and not things that perpetuate my societal standing and increase it. The question, what is the meaning of a life, itself is a social trap. It assumes that meaning should exist and it can be found. It keeps people oriented towards something outside themselves. If you look for meaning in life, you will work to find it. You will work 16 hours a day if you need to. You will lose sleep. You will be unhappy. You will go for medication just to fix your brain, which isn't broken, which is just screaming at you. Stop conforming to societal criteria. Go and do and complete your biological function. After that, you're free to live your life. Um, what's next? Society, it does behave analogous to a parasite because it spreads from mind to mind, as a parasite does, from a host to host, like a virus, like a parasite. It alters the behavior of the host, like a mushroom. You know, the mushrooms that control the ant's brain, they make it go up onto a stick and pose its head high so that a bird might fly, eat the ant, and spread the spores of a mushroom. That's a parasitic mushroom. Wasps lay their eggs into spiders, and the eggs eat the spider from the inside. Or do that with um, cockroaches too. They alter the mind of the host, alter the behavior. The biological parasites do the same thing to us, but when it comes to memetic parasites, we don't think of it. I think that is an area of parasit- parasitism that we are missing. It protects itself from removal. If you don't think society is something you should strive for, you get ridiculed and you don't get to, you know, tell more people about your ideas. Who is that guy? He says society is nothing. He's some crazy lunatic who, you know, isn't able to rise in the ranks of the social network as we did. So now he's projecting his insecurities on the world and saying that the world is not what it looks like. Um, that's something society makes us tell to one another. It uses our existing motivational system like dopamine, fear, or attachment, and uh, then it uses that for its own goals. What's next? Reproduction of the parasite happens through. What did I do? Reproduction of the parasite happens through social norms, through talks, through um, ideas being exchanged. When you see someone living a long life, you may ask yourself, why am I not living that life myself? The answer wouldn't be because I'm worse as a human. The answer would probably be, why are you even asking that question? That's not really an answer, but it counts, I think, more than anything we can say that's other from this. Um, it this memetic parasite resists counter ideas more strongly as it develops. The more successful the society, the more resistant it is to being recognized as a memetic parasite. That's why the idea that society is not the thing that we should live to improve is, this idea would not be loved as much in the West because the society is developed there. So the more it grows, the harder it becomes to get rid of it. Some of my observations that I think may count as evidence for this are the biological and versus social timeline of reproduction. So in all other animals, puberty is biological readiness. It has been like that for thousands of years. As society becomes more uh, what as society becomes more a part of our lives, the age of reproduction increases. Now the normal age is like 28 to 32 in the West, and not for all people, because the population is declining, because the birth rate is lower than 2 people per a woman. Um, what else? Extension of life beyond the biological purpose. You know how mantis, females, praying mantis, they bite the head of the males. Why would a mantis then even reproduce if it knows, like, in the process of reproduction it will die? Because reproduction is the main biological um, process that a biological organism strives towards, the continuation of its genes, spread of its genome. A spider may sacrifice itself to its offspring so that the offspring has something to eat while they're young and they may develop more. Human people will sacrifice themselves, but often for other people, which is, as I say, amazing for the society, but for me, not the smartest idea evolutionarily. Because yes, it continues the human race as a whole, but it harms the individual, and that is not something a beneficial or a symbiotic thing would do for you. A parasite would kill you to protect itself, and a symbiote, I don't think, would do that. Then medicine and longevity are there for tools of the society to extend the host's life, for the host to spread this idea more easily, and you are told to respect your elders. They have lived through more, they have more experience in life, and they are the ones who perpetuate the norms of the society the most, I think. Should you respect your elders? I don't know. That's a question that you should think about and not just blindly agree, I think. The social suppression of this idea, like the stronger the society is, the more it resists. Tribes which do not have a strong society, a developed society, would not be that opposed to the idea that to live for a great meaning outside of your biological function is a parasitic idea which does not really help you as an organism. But if you say that somewhere in Toronto or in Canberra, people will look at you like you're crazy, like, biology, who cares about that, man? Look, I can write music. I will become great at painting, at guitar, at uh, talking, at solving Rubik's Cube, remembering pi. I can have children when I'm 40, or I won't even need them. This is how society uses abstract things, false suns, as a false beacon for the main goal of life. It hacks our neurochemicals. It uses dopamine in order to have us work harder to achieve goals, societal goals, like productivity, status, prestige. It uses, like, biological things like fear, which we have a fear of death, but I think that is plainly in us mainly to have us spread our genes. I think after we are done reproducing, the fear of death should constantly get lower and lower and lower. What we see in the society is the opposite. We see that the longer a person lives, the more they value their life, and young people don't value it at all. Young people do reckless stuff because they're young. So that is one observation about it. Um, Society does not have any mechanism of its own to give you satisfaction or pleasure. So it uses existing mechanisms like brain hormones or fear, emotions like that, connection to serve its own ends. The intelligence here, the more intelligent a person is, the more likely they are to rationalize the presuppositions that have been included in their upbringing, and I would not say brainwashed into, but indoctrinated into. If you were told for your whole life that chess is the meaning of life, if you had an IQ of 73 and someone asked why, someone would ask why is chess your life, you would say because it's fun when I win. Why not win? If you have an IQ of 150, 170, you may say, well, actually, you know, when we win at chess, we get internal satisfaction, we get a sense of belonging to a community of winners, we improve our intelligence, we have more knowledge, rationalizations like that, which would not differ in their in the thing that they're defending, like the 85 and 150 IQ guys. Both of them can be wrong about the presuppositions that they got in life, but one would be able to rationalize that much more. So a smart person that views society as something valuable will be able to rationalize why he does so or she does so. Then at last, the question, what's the meaning of life? Just remember how many times you have seen people tell you there is no meaning. What are you talking like? There is no objective meaning. You have to go and find your own meaning. Your meaning might be as simple as counting the blades of grass. As long as it's your meaning, you should have it. We should imagine Sisyphus happy. Or should we? Because what does Sisyphus do? He carries a stone onto a hill. He carries and carries and carries it, and it falls on by night, but he carries it anyway. And does he have a meaning in his life? I don't know. I wouldn't look at his life and say it's meaningful. A cat that plays, reproduces, hunts, lays down for 18 hours a day to sleep. I think this cat has more meaning, which, when I say meaning with the cat's example, I not only just say societal meaning of life, I'm saying biological too, meaning that a person counting the blades of grass would, even if society told that counting the blades of grass is really important for the person, So the question, what is the meaning of life? It is a tool of the parasite which makes you want to live a longer life, which makes you want to forget about having spread your genes and going out and creating art. I too seen in creating art, in making music, in writing poetry, in painting. I've done 25 paintings, maybe, written hundreds of songs, and like almost 1,000 poems, maybe. I don't think there is meaning in art. I think art is amazing, but only as much as you look at it through a social lens. I think art is beautiful, but beauty is not something we should biologically strive towards more than reproduction, more than continuing our destiny of life. So, implications. Um, I think a life which is aligned with prioritizing biological pleasure, reproduction, rest, and connection over social ideas would reduce the overall suffering for the individual. It may have an effect which reduces the stability of a society, but I think that is irrelevant. I think what's most relevant to you is your own offspring, your closest kin, and most importantly, your own life. Um, this idea that society is a memetic parasite, it does not require the rejection of all societal things, like of all the things that society has brought to us, but it lets us choose sometimes what would you want to strive towards. A new position at your job which would make you look better in front of your peers, or 8 hours of sleep every night. Who knows what you would choose? I think the obvious answer should be biological pleasure. And I think that this idea that the idea of society itself is a memetic parasite is pretty novel. The idea of of memes has been talked about by people like Richard Dawkins. There is some Schopenhauer, some Nietzsche talk about these general ideas, but nothing that really touches upon this point as much as I do, I think. Um, if this framework is true, how to live a good life? I think a good life in this framework would be um, to live according to your biological pleasures and urges, to reproduce and then rest, to not put things like status, comfort, things like prestige, honesty, even truth itself over your biological reproduction. Because if truth is more important to you than pleasure, it is a perfectly rational, in societal um, construct. Like in a society, valuing truth more than pleasure is generally looked at as the norm. I think it is not the smartest thing to do if you value your biological pleasures and meanings, and if you do what you have been evolved to do. So you shouldn't just watch this video and go and reject the every societal norm, go out in the street naked and steal and do anything you want because of your primary biological urges. But next time you find yourself miserable or suffering, you should ask yourself, am I suffering because the world is a crazy evil place, or am I suffering because I am deluded in my structure of life that has been put onto me by my elders? And is that idea really something that we think about a lot, or do we usually think about how to make society develop more instead of why should we even care about society? This should have been an 8-minute video because this is my first ever long form content that I'm doing. I'm just yapping, you know. If you have watched all of this, you're crazy probably. I've even got myself a suit to make it look more presentable, even decreased the efficiency, the speed of my fan to reduce the volume so that my speech is more clear. Well, thanks for watching. I would gladly see replies, comments. Maybe you disagree, maybe you think, what is this guy talking about? This is the stupidest idea, society, memetic, parasite, what are you talking about, cognitive hazard? Maybe you'll think, wow, that is actually a very profound take which may require further refinement and more like concrete argumentation, but actually not a bad idea. Maybe you think, look at this guy. Whatever you think, you can write it in the comments and I will probably read all of them, and maybe even if this video does well, I'll make another one. Goodbye everyone, thanks for watching.